Everyone, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to be with us tonight. I really appreciate it. Tonight isn't about announcements or reports. It's really about where God has brought Global Missions Project, what He's been doing through this ministry, and how we can take good care of what He's entrusted to us. There's a verse that's been on my heart as we've been preparing for this in 1 Corinthians 4:2. Paul says, "It is required of us stewards that we be found faithful." That word, faithful, has guided a lot of prayer and conversation for us. For more than 2 decades, Global Missions Project has helped musicians take the gospel to the nations, using the gifts God's given them to serve churches and reach people who may never have heard the name of Jesus. And I want to say this plainly. None of what God has done through this ministry happens without you. Because of your prayers, your willingness to go, and your generosity, we've seen lives changed, churches strengthened, and relationships built around the world. And as those relationships have grown deeper, the ministry has grown too. What started as a trip-focused ministry has become something more relational. Long-term partnerships with people we care about deeply in the field. And that growth has led us to a simple, honest question. How do we take good care of what God has already given us and prepare wisely for what He may have next? That's really what tonight is about. In just a moment, I'll be joined by Kent Lilly, our board chair, and Bobby Lewis, our board vice chair, and we're going to talk together about this next season and how we believe God is leading Global Missions Project forward. Thanks again for being here. As we are getting started tonight, let's hear from some of our mission partners.
Hi, my name is Colin, and I am the Global Missions Project partner in South Africa and also in Scotland.
Hey everyone, my name is Florian, also known as Flo by many GMP participants. Together I'm here with my good buddy and friend from Adorios. Both of us, we're members of a vocal band called Adorios. We've hosted GMP twice in Paraguay.
Saludos a todos, por aquí le habla Elio Mora, soy un líder de la Convención Bautista Oriental, misionero de la agencia WIN.
GMP has enabled us to develop closer links to local churches, which has helped our ministry in our outreach efforts in both countries in which we work. Through the Metro Big Band, GMP has enabled us to bring hope to people who we wouldn't otherwise have been able to reach. People in prisons, in impoverished schools in South Africa, and also in prisons in the UK, as well as, of course, in the churches and the public spaces that we've had.
GMP has also really encouraged our Adorios ministry as a vocal band, and also our church orchestra, to just really keep on going with music, because through the music it's just wonderful to see how many people's lives can be changed through the music and sharing the gospel.
Les puedo decir que GMP, todos los que han venido, los que han orado, los que donan, todo han sido una gran bendición para Cuba. De los ministerios que más apoyo han dado a este país es GMP. Miles de personas han oído el Evangelio y muchos han conocido a Cristo. Cuando pensamos en GMP, pensamos en personas que están siendo alimentadas, personas que reciben medicamentos. No nos hemos muerto de hambre por la ayuda de GMP, de alimentos y medicamentos.
Our Scottish trips have been focused around the Edinburgh International Festival. It is an arts festival, the largest in the world. We have a church right in the center of the city which has partnered with us and with Global Missions Project in these outreaches. We simply open the doors, put the Metro Big Band on the stage, serve coffee and cake, and people just come in. One young man who came in from Germany to the festival hoping to encounter great music, which he did, but not expecting to encounter a great God, which he also did. We were able to discuss with him the truth of the gospel and send him back to his home country, having researched churches in his neighborhood that he could go back to. There are so many stories like this. That's just one.
So we have many missions focus points in remote areas, and in some of these areas, for the first time, through a donation, we had a donation of guitars from GMP. We started actually music lessons in these remote areas, and right now we already can see how kids are joining a music program where there was no music program before, and some of those kids have been signed up for a Christian camp. So to God the glory for the gospel is going through the GMP program.
2 años atrás, 2 años y medio atrás, unimos en Holguín más de 100 músicos profesionales y pudimos hacer un concierto cristiano donde los corazones fueron tocados de una manera especial, donde vimos la mano de Dios. Mucha gente aceptó a Cristo, mucha gente fue tocada. Si haces una encuesta, encontrarás a miles de personas que te dirán, hemos conocido a Cristo por GMP.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to Scotland. Thank you for coming all the way to South Africa. I know it's a long way. What you do makes a difference. You have encouraged our ministry. You've enabled us to connect with churches and others that have helped develop our ministry in both South Africa and Scotland. Also, you encouraged us, well, you didn't encourage us, we were inspired by you to create our own big band jazz band, which has now been going for several years. And they're actually quite good.
It really is an eternal investment that GMP does throughout their mission projects throughout the world. So don't hesitate. Please sign up for future projects. It is definitely worth it.
Para GMP, para todos los que están y los que vendrán en el futuro, les digo, Cuba le ora por ustedes, Cuba le agradece, Cuba, las iglesias cubanas, los cubanos, los músicos, todos les agradecemos grandemente. Le esperamos, siempre están invitados, siempre serán tratados muy especial como son, muy especiales. También les digo que Cuba los necesita. Cuba necesita GMP. Hay mucha necesidad en este país de esperanza, de gozo, de alegría, de salvación, y GMP es todo eso, porque son un instrumento especial de Dios y les esperamos con el corazón abierto.
As you can see, we are so blessed to have dedicated mission partners around the world, and that's the reason we're here tonight, both to celebrate them and to communicate ways that we believe that we can provide even more ministry opportunities to them. Kent, Bobby, welcome to the table.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Let's start here, Kent, from a board perspective. Why are we even having this conversation right now?
Well, for starters, it's really because the ministry is as healthy now as it's ever been. You know, and as you mentioned earlier, what started really as a trip-driven ministry has now yielded long-term relationships with partners all over the globe. And those relationships have now kind of grown into new opportunities for us to be able to do new things, some of which are not necessarily trip-related, you know, opportunities for us. And so with this growth kind of comes this new area of responsibility for us. How are we going to help grow that ministry, help support that ministry, and also move on to the next generation with it as well too? And so we're looking at a whole generation of new and different opportunities at this point.
You know, our existing model has actually worked great. It's lasted for 20 years, and we've seen God move in mighty ways. But our growth, and especially in non-trip projects, has created some tension that we want to try and solve. And so stewardship for us sometimes means addressing the how, not the why.
Mm-hmm. What kind of tension were you seeing that made it clear the old way wasn't enough anymore?
Well, you know, one of our overarching principles has always been we want more people in more places more often. And to try to do that takes a lot of effort and energy. Since COVID, what's happened is that travel costs have continued just to take off and have skyrocketed. And that's really kind of inhibited some of our people from being able to go. On top of that, there's been a little bit of tension in between what's good for our long-term support for our partners versus having emergency needs that may need to be taken care of as well too. And sometimes those tend to fight a little bit. And we've kind of felt some tension with maybe having too many specific asks, too many little small buckets that we've been trying to fill over time. And that gets a little bit exhausting, I think, for some of our people.
Yeah, I also think that, well, for instance, our partner in Cuba called and said that they had 1 hour of electricity a day. He was trying to provide food, refrigeration, and things, and they couldn't get the power that they needed. And what they really felt like that God was wanting to provide for them was solar panels. Well, under this new model, we were able to fund that need immediately, rather than waiting 10 days, 20 days, 30 days in order to go raise the funds. And to us, that kind of planning takes more consistency, and that's one of the reasons we're trying to address some of these changes.
So let's talk about the new model we're introducing tonight, the Global Impact Fund. Bobby, how would you explain it in plain terms?
The Global Impact Fund, when we were talking about it, we don't want to present it as a way to address overhead or normal everyday ministry operations. We don't want it to be bureaucratic. We want to offer shared stewardship from all of our participants and from all of our supporters. And I think the big thought is we want to support our mission as a whole around the world rather than one specific deal. We want to widen our vision for the world.
Yeah. What happens is it really helps kind of align our funding with how the ministry has now evolved and how it works on a day-to-day basis. You know, from the very start, we've always been internally funded. You know, everything is basically run out as a result of the projects. And that's what's funded everything that GMP has done. As it's grown and as we're going to this kind of this additional direction, not only a new direction, but a growth direction, we need more external funding resources to be able to accommodate that. Because if you don't, the cost of those projects and those other initiatives and that support, that's too much for too few people to bear just on the projects themselves. And so we're having to bring more resources to the table, and that allows us then to take every gift, will then participate in every project that GMP does at some level.
Bobby, what does the Global Impact Fund actually support?
Well, three things come to mind for me. The first is it supports strategic projects, music schools, leadership training, relief efforts, and just normal music training that's going through. But our strategic projects are one of the most important things we can do. The second thing I think that the Global Impact Fund addresses is our mission partners. As we have developed deeper relationships with more and more mission partners, we are becoming more aware of the opportunities and the needs that they have. And beyond the 7 to 10 days of a trip, we want to put ourselves in a position to be able to help them with their ministry where God has planted them. And then lastly, it is an important part, but lastly is sustaining the ministry. Trip planning, trip budgeting, the accounting and everything, all of those are important to being able to put people on the mission field.
Yeah, you're right. I think what that does too, Bobby, it helps to build trust, you know, among our partners and our participants, you know, both, because we are there to continue to support. It gives us the ability to kind of create continuity, you know, and that support level with them as well too. And it allows us, it gives us the flexibility to be able to say yes when God opens a door or lays an opportunity in front of us and says, this is for you.
Kent, in the past, people gave to specific projects. Now we're asking people to give to the ministry instead. Why?
Well, a couple things. One is, I think it's going to be easier for the board as a whole and for the ministry as a whole to be able to anticipate needs and be proactive. That's the goal here. We don't want to be reactive to needs. We want to be able to be proactive to those needs. Similar to the story that Bobby shared a minute ago with our partner in Cuba. That was an immediate need that was funded immediately, and then we were able to share that with all of our community, and then the community began to give as a response to that, which just helps us be able to meet the next need that's going to come up from there. And so we're looking at this as a way to kind of propel the ministry forward on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, and I think another aspect of this is that donors don't necessarily have to choose between multiple good things, right? If they're supporting the ministry, then we are able to do, with more agility, more different kinds of things and to weigh the importance of it. But I think that also helps us and puts us in a better position to protect long-term commitments that we've had. Some people in the mission field, we've made multi-year commitments to, and we pay those every month, whether the money comes in or not. God has seen fit to provide for all that money, but it helps us protect the commitments that we've already made.
Yeah.
Some folks might hear this and worry we're becoming more corporate or less faith-driven. How would you respond to that?
Well, actually, it's quite the opposite, because really we're still very mission driven. You know, our mission is still to magnify and to take the Lord of glory to the people of the world, you know, and share salvation's message with them. And so we're still mission driven on that. The bigger thing is this, is that not only are we mission driven, but stewardship really honors faith. And the board proactively actually stepped out in faith last year, before we even got this out, and said, you know what, we feel like this is the direction we need to go. And you've probably noticed already that project costs for 2026 have already come down. That's because we said, this is going to be the new plan going forward. This is the new model. And we were able to pull some of those costs out of the projects already. And so we've already stepped out on faith to take that first step before we even make an announcement.
Ken, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the bottom line for us is faith and dependence on God are central to our mission and our service.
What would you most want the GMP family to hear as we look ahead?
You know, I'll give you three quick things. Number one, I think, is thank you. You know, without our people and without their investment over these last 23 years, we were talking about this earlier today, we wouldn't be here today even thinking about this. And so thank you is probably the biggest thing that we can say to our people. I think the second thing we want them to know is this, is that 100% of the board of GMP is already invested into the Global Impact Fund. We didn't do this and say, let's go raise the money. We said, we're going to do this first and ask them to come along with us and to come join us to do it. And to do that, we've invested, and we're inviting you to come along with us. And we're wanting you to do the same thing. We want our participants to invest as well, and also to invite and have somebody come along with them as well too.
I think, Camp, I would also say everybody has a role. God has given us different gifts. Some are brass players, some are woodwind players, some are string players, some are rhythm players, but it all comes together to create the whole. And every role is equally important when you're putting it together. And so God has gifted us, and he has resourced each of us differently. So no gift is too small. What our ask is that you ask the Lord how he would want you to support this ministry, and be obedient to whatever he tells you, whether it's large or small.
What you said was the body of Christ.
That's
together.
exactly right.
Everything we've talked about really comes down to stewardship, taking good care of what God has already entrusted to us. Before we close, we want to hear from you. Use the chat to submit any question you may have. We'll get to as many of those as possible right now. The remaining questions we will post on our website. For instance, you may be wondering, does that mean we'll never ask for special project needs again?
Well, you know, as a general rule, moving forward, the answer to that question is going to be no. Our goal is to do really a couple things. One is we want to simplify the way that we do what we're doing. We want to be able to multiply the effect of the ministry we have, because our goal is really to magnify the Lord. And those are the three things we're really after here. And so there's going to be, as a general rule, we will not be going after a lot of special projects. Now, there's always needs that are critical that may need a special funding, push to do that. And those, we've always had the flexibility to put those back on the table and go, we need this. But there'll be short-term windows. There'll be smaller, projects that need asking for, but they'll be specific, and then that window will close. Because we want to kind of put everything in the big bucket, so to speak, and let that be the fund which then is spilled out in all directions.
Yeah. I think one of our main objectives, we want to reduce donor fatigue, and we want to reduce the fatigue of persistent asks that are competing with each other.
Yeah.
We think we've been doing this for several years now. We think we have a good sense, a good feel on the pulse of where needs are and the level of importance that those needs have, and we want to be able to meet them more quickly. But as Kent said, something comes up, a hurricane, or some, an earthquake that, that terrifies thousands of people in one of our key areas, we want to keep the freedom and the flexibility to open that up for over and above gifts, but that does not replace or eliminate the need for a consistent global impact fund. Our hope is that this will build trust and clarity.
That's great.
Hey, Camp, I just received one of the questions that came in, and so let me pose it to the table. It says, a local pastor here had an idea of traveling, much like GMP does, but to take instruments that we could play and then leave with the local community. Any thoughts on doing something like that?
We do it all the time, and we love to do that. Matter of fact, I have the warehouse in Nashville where our instruments are stored, and as a matter of fact, we have one of our participants is making a trip to Nashville in just a few weeks to bring 65 instruments directly to us to add to our base of the instruments that we carry to countries around the world. So absolutely, we can do that, and we can tell you where to send them, and believe me, they will go into the hands of someone who could not acquire an instrument any other way.
Yeah, and we've had some just recently who took one of those instruments down or took an instrument that they were going to give anyway. They played it for the week,
Right.
and then left it.
And that works so well. Yeah,
It's a beautiful thing. Hey, another question came up and said, can you still designate a donation to a specific place or country? Kent?
Yeah, that's what we're kind of working our direction to start moving away from that, unless it's something that we determined as a board that that's a short-term, need that we need to really go after on a specific basis. What we're hoping to do is to begin to now really have continual support going to all of those different places. Specifically, we have a lot of our people who are highly vested in Cuba. For instance, and we are highly vested in Cuba. We want to be in the place to be able to consistently being able to support our partners in Cuba. Right now, it goes like a heartbeat. They get it, we don't have it. They get it, we don't have it. We want to be able to make that a consistent model to be able to support that ministry going on down there. So we're trying to move that direction with this.
And we already have multiple initiatives going all over the world that are ongoing, that the funding has to be there for.
I think that's the big thought for me is we don't want to set up a situation where competition for the work of GMP is being made and driven exclusively by specific gifts. Many of you may not know, but we've actually been a part for 4 years now of building a worship center, a building in Poland. Right? We send band instruments to Uganda. And so while it's terrifying and heartbreaking to think of some of the plight that the nation of Cuba is, that doesn't mean that there's not plight somewhere else. And we want to be in a position to be able to meet all of those needs. So,
Yeah, exactly.
hey, somebody else asked, I have a church that is wanting to donate their handbells to Cuba. How should I proceed?
Send them to me. I'll
Send
get
them to
there.
camp.
We will get them there. As a matter of fact, we've actually already delivered within the last 10 years or so 2 sets of handbells to Cuba.
Yeah.
But they can use more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We would love to have them and get them down there. As a matter of fact, I now have access, we have access to the ability to send instruments with shipping containers right out of Jacksonville, Florida, and the ship goes every 6 months. We have the opportunity to fill some instruments. I just sent 2 large Gaylord boxes of instruments to Cuba. I think it's actually leaving this week, and it'll be there around March the 8th. So, yes, we have the ability to do that. Love to have them.
I think one thing that's important about that too, Camp, is that we've learned over time, you have to vet those opportunities, and you have to be very specific. And so we don't randomly just send instruments to Cuba or to Guatemala or to any place else in the world that we do this with. We go, what is the need?
Exactly.
You identify the need and go, they can use this, and then that goes there. And so part of our job in that is being good stewards of where are these instruments going to go so they're getting in the hands of the right players who will actually then be able to use them.
And Cuba is one of those places that has the needs, but we also carry instruments to Costa Rica,
Yep.
to Brazil, now to Paraguay,
Yep.
And Guatemala.
Guatemala.
So we have multiple needs for those instruments, and we've been taking care of that over the years, and we want to continue to do that. I just returned from Guatemala yesterday, and the needs are still there, and our mission partner there is introducing us to new ministries every time we go that have those specific needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next question that came up said, who's involved in the decisions where gifts are provided? And let me take a first stab at that.
Yeah.
Most of us are active members of our churches. Our churches have missions budgets. And we don't necessarily control the missions budget, but it's the missions committee's responsibility to know the heartbeat of the church, know the opportunities, and make balanced decisions going forward. And that's how we see GMP operating going forward. You see anything different?
No, you're right. You're spot on. But what we did too to kind of get to that spot was, we started giving grants, several years ago. But one of the things that we did learn was we need to create a really good grid as to be able to filter out the requests that were valid and the ones that may not have been as valid, what was there. And so we think we've done a good job at creating a really nice grid, which basically is, do they meet certain requirements? Is this a mission-minded, ministry-focused adventure? Is it a venture that's really focused on music? Is it a venture that aligns with our mission and with our theology as well too, and what our call is? And so there's kind of this grid, so to speak, that it's got to pass through. If it does, it meets it. We try to meet the need as often as possible.
My church is the same way. We have a significant global focus emphasis every year.
Yeah.
And we are consistently supporting 25 different missionaries in different locations. It changes a little bit each year. It's not always the same ones every year. Some are ongoing, some are not. And we take one global focus offering. That offering then for that year is split up based on need and the amount that can be given. And it's designated so that everyone, each one of the mission partners gets a piece of the pie.
Yep.
So that they can continue their work.
Well, and that's a standard best practice for most missions organization, and that's one of the reasons we're trying to move toward it. Does it keep any one individual from sending their gift to LEO, for instance, or to some particular region of the world? No, it doesn't. You could still do that, but we're trying to define what our global vision looks like and how we can meet the hearts.
Right.
Hey, I love this next question. Does this open project participation for younger musicians?
Absolutely.
Well, just a few weeks ago,
Whoever asks that question gets the $5 prize.
They do.
Because we want to talk
And
about
that's actually the scholarship is $5. No, I'm just kidding. I'm only kidding.
Yeah, well, just a couple of weeks ago, we just announced that because we had a lead gift that came in, not requested, was just offered to go, we think younger people need to have an opportunity to be able to go. And we agreed, and the board decided in this year's budget, we invested money into that as well, too. And we started the Camp Kirkland Student Scholarship Fund, so named after Camp in his honor for part of what we did for his 80th birthday, but part of what we feel called to do as Global Missions Project.
Right.
And but honoring his great service since the founding of this organization.
And I thought that it was so great that it was a couple of our participants that made the initiating gift, and it spoke to us to say, we do need to do this.
Yes.
We need to create that fund.
Yes.
So that specifically college students
Right.
have the opportunity,
Yep.
because college students have no money.
Yeah.
Right.
And so to give them the opportunity to go, and we've already determined the funding and how it's going to work, and yes, absolutely, they can apply for that scholarship.
Yeah, and you can learn more on the Global Missions
Yes.
Project website, because there is an application process specifically for students.
Right.
And it's being funded, and actually it's a part, under this new plan, it's actually a part of our missions budget.
Right.
Right.
Is to fund that in
Yep.
order to grow the ministry and give people increased opportunities. Hey, the next question says, so how will this new initiative be funded?
Well, it's going to get funded from a couple of different things. Because of God's blessings, number one, we have a little bit of funds already on hand that we've been able to retain, and that's a piece of what is funding some of this as well. Projects will still continue just to be projects. When there is excess funds left from a project, whatever excess funds come out of those projects, they go right into the Global Impact Fund as well too and contribute to that. The balance of this is what we're here for tonight, is really to raise the balance of that through consistent, regular giving by our participants and our interested parties, people that may never go on a project,
Right.
but that love what we do and are bought into the mission of what Global Missions is all about.
Yeah, so will GMP publish annual reports of what ministries have been supported over the past year? And let me take the first stab at this.
Yeah.
I think annual reports are not frequent enough. I think we probably need to be looking at something that's more quarterly. And I'm standing here right now saying we'll make the commitment to do that because you deserve the opportunity to know the impact that you're making around the world as frequently as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I would even go one step further, but I mean, tell you, I don't think we've done a very good job of that in the last few years.
Right.
And there's been some things that have really made big impacts. As Camp mentioned, and you mentioned Uganda earlier, and we were there last year.
Last July.
Yeah, last July. We carried 6 duffel bags full of horns to Uganda. We didn't do a very good job telling people about that.
Right.
There was a lot that happened there, and we still support them on an ongoing basis. And we haven't done a very good job of communicating that involvement to all of our greater GMP family. And so we got to get better at that. But yes, doing annual reports and updates as things happen without questions.
And I know we don't have a lot of time, but I want to speak specifically to the gift to Uganda.
Yeah.
It was to a gentleman that we met who contacted us,
Yep.
who actually has a band in an orphanage.
Yes.
And he's using the band as a tool to reach the kids with music and then to share Christ with them
Yes.
in the midst of that. And he's got 120-something kids in the orphanage, and he only had 26 instruments, and they're all sharing.
And they have a marching band.
And they have a marching band.
Yes.
They greeted you when you went
They
down
did.
there.
They did.
And they did. Well, they have more than 26
But
instruments
those
now,
kids are
but-
being reached for
yeah.
Christ through this
That's right.
ministry through music.
Yeah.
Will we still be able to, is it a part of our mission to join with local musicians to worship together? And I would actually reframe the question, is it still a part of our mission to join with local missions to worship together? Because we do that almost everywhere we go. But what do you think?
I don't think I understand the question.
The question is it part of our mission to join with local musicians to be able to worship together?
In locations. I would say the answer to that question is yes.
Yes.
I mean, we do that frequently, and we want to do that. I mean, for instance, when we went to Paraguay just this past summer.
I didn't.
We do that.
Now I got it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We, absolutely. We use local
Forgive
musicians
me.
every
The
time
local
we can.
musicians are in the other country.
Yes.
That's exactly
Right.
We just did that in Guatemala. We do it in Cuba every time. We do
Yep.
it in Brazil every time. We did it in Costa Rica. We do it as often as possible, and we love it to have that person that speaks another language sitting next to one of our American people who don't speak that language either, and they play the first note together, and it's instant connection.
Yeah, I would say the answer to that question historically is yes, and we don't see that stopping. That's one of the biggest blessings
Absolutely.
of our ministry, is to be able to share music and the love of the Lord at the same time with local musicians.
I still remember being in Cuba and our group having the opportunity to sit in with a symphony orchestra there and play with them during their rehearsal. And during the break, 2 of our clarinet players led their clarinet player to the Lord in 15 minutes.
That's amazing.
So yes, we see it happen all the time, and we love it.
The other great thing that comes out of that is we just had 2 girls from Paraguay who went to Guatemala with this last team. They came out of there because of the connections we had with them there. And we're starting to see more and more of our international friends and brothers and sisters that we've met on projects because of that. They're now going other places in the
Coming to
world
join us
with
to
us
go
and
other
coming to
places. Yep.
join us and be on mission with us.
It's probably in the 20 or 25 people at this point.
Yeah.
Will we still be able to specify gifts specifically to the Camp Kirkland Scholarship Fund?
Yes.
Yeah,
Now, that doesn't go to you.
No, it doesn't go to me.
No, in your name,
that's right.
it's designed to help students.
Yeah.
I will re-clarify The Camp Kirkland Scholarship Fund is designed to get students and first-time participants onto the mission field who are musicians.
That's right.
And absolutely, yes, that would be one of the things that we can still provide funds to.
Yep, correct.
Is that good?
Yep.
I've got one here that says, I've been supporting a teacher and a music school regularly. Will that be able to be continued through the Impact Fund?
The answer to that question would be yes. Now, here's where the little bit of the rub may be in understanding, is going that the money's gonna go to the impact fund. We're still supporting those works that are going on that are there. But there may be times at which somebody may go, listen, I have a personal mission to want to support this particular player or this one particular teacher. And if that's the case, those are almost better to go directly to those people than it is to go through us.
That's right.
We primarily give to ministries and to organizations that we're partnered with around the world, and they then distribute those funds as they do. And so we're not really kind of in the business of giving to individual people and individual, little, I won't say little projects because they're not little, but individual projects.
projects,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So, Camp, this town hall has gone international. We have a question from South Africa. Said the application for the scholarship that you mentioned would be for younger musicians. Would that be local or international, and up to what ages would you consider?
I think the fund has been established primarily for college age.
Right.
Because it's a focus to get those that are on the search for how their life is coming together at that time as they're looking for towards their future. And yes, we can certainly entertain internationals receiving that as well.
That would be a part of our trips.
That would be a part of our
They would
trips.
join up
Yeah,
with
right.
us.
Yeah, a couple of specific things there too on that. It's for students up to the age of 25 that have either graduated or been in school within the last 12 months. So anytime within that time period. It could bleed into better high school players because they're part of the application process is an audition, and so they audition the tape to make sure that they can play the material. Otherwise, it won't be a very good experience for them, overall. And so there's a couple things to kind of help get that to kind of level that out, for us. But that's the key. But yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, and
Actually, the first
our
two
interest
students.
would actually be people who are studying music.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, so they need to have graduated within that may be a little bit squishy, but they need to have graduated within the last year. They need to be under 25, and somehow there needs to be an investment in using
Yeah.
music as a tool for missions.
Yeah, either graduated or in school.
That's right.
Either way's,
Oh,
either
yeah,
way's
even
fine
in
too.
school, that's
In
right.
fact, when that came out, the first two young ladies that actually expressed interest to do it were not from the United States.
That's great.
Yeah,
I love it. Did we approve it?
we're going to.
Okay, that's great. Hey, what part of the Global Impact Fund goes to participants?
That's a good question. And that's a really insightful question too. Right now, I think when we did the math, it runs somewhere about 25 to 35% of the Global Impact Fund is going to participants. And the way that's going to participants is that's helping to underwrite the cost of the projects. And so like in 26, when we saw project costs kind of come down, they came down several $100s, per person, per project. Part of what the Global Impact Fund does, they pick up that difference. And that difference right there is where that's money is going directly back to participants.
Yeah, I'll be even a little bit more transparent about that. Under the old model, your trip costs included costs for Ken
Yep.
Hughes, for our accounts director, a stipend for the music director, whoever that was on the trip. Those are all being pulled out of the trip costs. If you see reduced trip costs, that's because the Global Impact Fund is taking care of some of those other costs
That's
in
right.
order to enable you
That's
to
right.
more easily get onto the mission field.
Yeah.
And that was a major goal of ours, was to try and get more participants on board by helping the budget.
Yep.
All right, the last question I have queued up is, can you give a recurring gift via the GMP website?
100%. Yes, you can. In fact, Camp's going to tell you how to do it.
Well, actually, it's when you give, there's an opportunity there for you to, in a drop-down window, just to change and say recurring gift.
Yep.
And we encourage you significantly to do that. And whatever it is, it's going to be good. It's going to be helpful.
Well, we actually hope that a lot of people avail themselves of that opportunity, because that's what will give us some of the predictability and the consistency that we need. And that's where somebody might not think that their $25 gift was all that significant, but if it was $25 a month, that's significant. That's $300 a year. And so we see recurring gifts as almost a key to making the Global Impact Fund work.
Correct.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Miller is on the other end of my iPad feeding these questions to us, and she said, I asked for a final call for questions and haven't gotten any others. And so I think we're going to close the open question time, and we're going to let Camp kind of close us out here.
And let me say, by the way, thank you so much for your questions. They're very helpful to us, and we hope that we've been helpful to you as well. Thank you for your engagement. What you just heard is the result of a lot of faithfulness, people saying yes, partners opening doors, and God using music, worship, and service to change lives. Those stories don't just celebrate what God has done, they remind us why it matters how we care for this ministry moving forward. The mission field hasn't changed. The Great Commission is still the call, and God is still inviting his people to be part of what he's doing. The Global Impact Fund is simply a way for us to do that together, to help more people say yes when God calls them to go, to strengthen our mission partners, and to make sure ministry continues even when teams aren't on the ground. Every gift matters, big or small, one time or ongoing. For some, that might look like a significant one-time gift. For others, even $25 a month is significant, because steady, faithful giving helps keep ministry moving forward all year long. If you feel led to give tonight, you'll see a link in the chat, or you can visit globalmissionsproject.com/give. You can also scan the QR code on your screen. Give in the way that feels right for you. Give prayerfully, and give knowing you're helping steward a mission that's making a real difference around the world. Thank you for your prayers, your trust, and for being part of the Global Missions Project family.